May as well start with the cricket, right? I mean, we're here watching. Front of mind. Probably been the thing I've been watching the most recently.
The cricket? Yeah.
Since Boxing. I mean, on Boxing Day, Big Bash on at night. Sort of the main attraction in Australia here at over the Christmas period. In America, your attention's pretty divided, but here in Australia, you basically have one sport and one sport only, unless you're into the NBL.
Yeah.
Don't know how many people are into the NBL, but
I
apparently they play
think
on
this is the
Christmas?
third episode now that we've actually bagged the NBL.
Shit. Apparently, the plays on Christmas Day, the NBL? This Christmas
Yeah,
Day
they did, yeah.
Yeah, well,
I could not tell you who it was.
No.
But no, it was on.
no. I'd love to know what their viewership is and like what where it ranks compared to other leagues.
So what, did you get to watch the white ball showcase on Boxing Day at the start?
What's that?
Well, Konstas, it was basically playing a
Right.
50-over game.
The
it
white
looked
ball
like.
showcase. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, right? Because the whole build-up to that game, it was all Konstas is going to smash Bumrah. He's going to play aggressive. He's in the team because we need a different shake-up. We can't have Labuschagne, Khawaja and McSweeney and Smith all playing a slow blocking game, just waiting to get out. We need someone to get on the front foot at the top of the order like Travis Head does in the lower order. So it's one thing to get into the team with that goal in mind. It's another thing to actually execute it on the day. And you saw in the first over that he was beaten by Bumrah three times, past the outside edge of the bat.
Yeah, maiden.
Bumrah looked like he was going to get him. He missed two ramp shots.
Missed the first two.
And you've got to think, when you miss two ramp shots, the Indian slip cord was getting up him, saying who knows what to him about it.
Kohli had a smile on his face.
And then to go for it a third one, I mean, he missed three ramp shots. I mean, it's getting a little embarrassing at that point. But credit to him, he clearly, I think, had a plan. He's going to ramp Bumrah. That was going to be his strategy to get going and the way to
unsettle
Bumrah, to sort of just get on the front foot, to sort of show, to accomplish his goal, which was to be aggressive to Bumrah. And that was, I think, his easiest way to do it, because I think it's a ramp shot looks risky, but if you pull it off, it's a guaranteed boundary, essentially. Whereas if you walk down the pitch and try and smack, I just don't think you can do that for Bumrah. So I think it was a smart plan, like game plan.
Yeah.
And then he pulled it off. He did like 3 in 1 over, right?
I think so.
And then the crowd got behind him. He just had all the momentum. And I think he was just floating on clouds. Like he just felt like he just marching down, walking down the wicket, hitting a pull shot to mid-wicket. I mean, it was great to watch. It was great theatre. Kohli runs into him. I mean, that was the highlight of day one, right? Yeah. You see Kohli change his line to walk towards Konstas on the pitch, clearly with a intention to try to rattle him, to try to get him off his game, to get in his head. Classic Kohli. But credit to Konstas, he took it. He didn't get too emotional about it. He didn't respond. He sort of just
chirped back a little bit.
He did, but the right amount.
But yeah, he didn't like,
because it could go bad. Like if you go too much and you get too angry, well then Kohli wins.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything, well Kohli wins again. So I think it probably was the perfect response, where he didn't let it go free. It wasn't a free move where Kohli just hit him, but he also didn't get too low or too high from it. He just sort of took it in stride. It was like, what the heck, and kept going. And I think all in all, he won that exchange with one of the masters of the mental game in the cricket, and that's going to only put him in good stead moving forward, to know that he can handle heat from someone like Virat Kohli, who's basically the king of those mental mind games out in the middle. So it was great theatre, great to watch, credit to him. And I honestly don't have a problem with what Kohli did. I think, yes, it's not in the spirit of cricket. Cricket is considered a gentleman's game, and doing all that sort of outside the rules, gamesmanship, like once it becomes physical, like it's one thing saying words and trying to get in someone's head verbally. It's another thing to try to get in someone's head physically like that. But yeah, he copped his fine. It is what it is. And the repercussions are that he got booed for it when he came out and batted the next day. I mean, that's what happens.
That's cricket.
You reap what you sow. Yeah. And I didn't like the commentators today at the start of day 3 saying, "Oh, don't boo Kohli. Why are you booing Kohli?" You know, I think it's a bad look when you have Channel 7 showing the replay of Kohli running into Konstas on repeat since it happened, promoting it, talking about it 24/7, news headlines talking about it. And then to start of day 3, you give the fans a slap on the wrist saying, stop booing Kohli. Why are you doing this to him? He's a hero of the game. He's a legend. Why are you booing him? It's like, well, you've created the aura around the incident and turned it into something massive. And so people are right to have their response to it. Like, you can't create the event and then get annoyed when people turn up to the event. Like, that's what's going to happen. So I thought that was a bit in bad taste, all these broadcasters. Maybe they're just trying to tone down the situation so it doesn't get too bad, because you had Kohli, when he was walking off after getting out, some of the fans were saying stuff to him, and he came back out and like looked at him. Kohli's he's a little, I don't want to say thin-skinned, but he definitely, you can get to him if you're a fan and you say something to him. Like, he can't help but respond. So it's fascinating, isn't it? It's the young 19-year-old coming up against you could argue, the most famous cricketer in the world in Virat Kohli. So it's been an excellent watch. It's the Boxing Day Test, as we said. It's been one of the most viewed cricket events, I don't know what you said, ever? Nearly? It's trending that way?
Yeah, apparently it was like the most watched Boxing Day opener day like ever.
It's awesome.
Apparently.
We've had 80+ thousand in the first 2 days. I think 60,000 day 3.
They were expecting a sellout.
So it's been excellent from a commercial standpoint. The viewership, the news coming out of it. It's been great cricket. India's now storming back in the game and making a draw look the most likely outcome. Yeah, Australia at the end of day 2 looking like, and even at the end of the first session of day 3 looking like it was going to be an easy win for them. But now if they're going to get a win, it's going to be quite difficult now, because it looks like they won't even bat today. And if that's the case, then, well, they're going to have to bat for nearly all day tomorrow to build a lead above 350. And then only have a day or less to bowl out India. And as we said, India bats so deep. They bat to basically number 9. They're competent batters. So that's going to be a difficult, and this pitch still looks pretty good. It's not going to be an easy 10 wickets to get. No. They've spent 104 overs and they've only got 7. The idea that they're going to get another 10 wickets in one day is not looking likely. So I'd say the most likely outcome right now is a draw, and the decider will be the Sydney Test match, which is a great outcome for the fans. But this is Test cricket, and as we're talking, there could be 2 wickets in this over and turned on its head. So
definitely,
we'll
anything
see.
Can happen, especially in the modern game. Going back to what we were saying with that Kohli situation, I guess we've seen previously in this series Siraj be sort of like that,
the villain,
the villain of the team, and I think Virat sort of knew what he was doing. Like, like I said, I don't really have a problem with it. It's all the modern game as we see now. Like, you've got it from the side of Kohli trying to rattle a youngster, 19 years old, Boxing Day Test debut. And then on the other hand, you had Konstas. He was unsettling the Bumrah, and, well, not just Bumrah, Siraj as well. He was dancing down the wicket, showing all 3 stumps and getting connection on ball and playing some just outrageous shots that you don't usually see. And it's just a change of the modern game right now.
Well, I think as well what happened is, to your point, the over before Kohli ran into Konstas, that was when Siraj said something to Konstas, like after he bowled. I don't know if you remember that. Konstas was batting, Siraj bowled at him, and he said something to him, and Konstas said something back. I think it was at the end of that over where Kohli ran into him. Yeah. So I think Kohli was sort of saw what happened with Konstas getting the confidence to speak up to Siraj, and he wanted to sort of put the youngster in his place type thing. Which, look, that's sport. That happens in nearly every sport.
It happens basically.
You just don't see it physically like that in cricket, which is basically you just don't see any physical contact apart from a handshake at the end of the game, right? Like NRL or any of these NFL, these physical sports, I'm sure it would happen
contact and stuff
all the time, right? The old guy is going to come and try and smash the young guy and show him this is the big leagues, and that's just what Kohli was trying to do. And as I said, he got his punishment. It is what it is. He got the fans against him. He got the match fee fine, the 25%, whatever it is, which is irrelevant to someone like Kohli who earns millions a year. But it's the principle that he got punished for it, and I think just leave it at that. But as I said, just for the TV broadcasters, don't complain about the fans booing Kohli, who they paid good money for these tickets. They're allowed to come in and boo, and when you're promoting it,
I see that more as just more of like a banter between team and a high-class player. Like, you see it when England comes over here, like back when their old team, when they had Stuart Broad and Anderson, they would get it copped left, right and centre.
It's like when we go over to England.
Yeah, it's just like the exact same thing. It's you're going over to the opposition's home country, home ground, and the fans, well, sometimes it feels like India's out outranking us sometimes at these stadiums. But, everyone's going to cop it here now and then. And, Kohli, obviously, with that incident, obviously it didn't help. Crowds are going to get behind their debutants at least and back him, especially after a showing that he was doing. Like, the media was loving it.
And when you dish it out, like when you're Kohli and you dish it out, you have to be able to take it. Like, that's my biggest thing in anything. If you're willing to... Nothing annoys me more than someone in sport or any sort of competition that talks a big game, tries to upset the other opponent and loves the trash talk, yet when it comes back their way, has a cry about it, has a whinge about it, can't handle it.
But obviously, there's sometimes it can go too far depending on what
we don't know what was said.
We don't know what was said.
We don't know what was said, but look,
there's obviously a line that you can't cross in certain
I'm
situations.
going to make an assumption that if it was really bad, like, once you cross the racist territory or anything like that, I can almost guarantee that we would have heard more about it.
Yeah.
I just think Kohli and the Indian team in general are kind of right now so sort of us against the world mentality when it comes to what fans and the media are saying, that if it was something serious, I think it would have been made more of than what it was. If I had to guess, I think it would have just been someone sort of saying an insult at Kohli, and he just doesn't like that sort of stuff. And it's his right to respond and do what he wants to do. And I said it's all part of the game.
Yeah. But if you're going to dish it, you got to be able to take it.
You got to be able to do it. Like, he purposely walked into Konstas with that, and there's a strategy involved in that, right? There's trying to rattle him. If Konstas gets out 2 balls later, well, he's a genius, right? But it didn't work, and now you have to cop the consequences of that act. Or you did that if you do that in the middle of India, who cares, right? You do that in New Delhi, you're fine. You do that in Melbourne on day 1 of the Boxing Day test with the entire country watching, there are going to be ramifications where you become the villain, and you just got to live with that. You don't see these Disney movies, the villains crying because they're the villain. I mean, when you're the villain, you're the villain. That is the way it is.
And so you saw the crowd playing their role in unsettling the opposition, which is what they're there to do.
It's great theatre. It's great. I mean,
cricket
this is the pinnacle of Australian, of cricket, really. I mean, honestly, you could say world cricket. I mean, maybe the Ashes, but I would say right now, India, Australia is probably... I don't know, the Ashes are still great, but those two are sort of equal in my eyes. This right here, Boxing Day test, as you said, one of the greatest viewerships cricket will have. This is it. I mean, this is what you play cricket for. This is what you watch cricket for. This is the climax.
Yeah, I've loved it. I did fall off there a couple of years ago after the South Africa incident.
Oh yeah,
that left a sour taste in my mouth. But I think that more people have come around, and it's starting to get the eyeballs that it deserves for sure.
It's just a good team to root for, this Aussie team.
100%.
A lot of good characters. I mean, the bowling lineups they all seem like great guys. Cummins seems like a great dude, a good captain. He seems to embody the Australian values. Nathan Lyon's a very likeable guy. Our batters, Steve Smith's been around for a long time. He just loves batting. A lot of people are a bit turned off by Labuschagne, but I personally think he's a great Australian, where he represents Australia. He loves cricket. He just wants to be out there. And yes, he has some weird tics, and that, I know, rub people the wrong way. A lot of people in my family do not like him. But, Travis Head, I think my favourite player, Mitch Marsh. They're just a likeable team, and the way they go about it, Alex Carey. So, the Sandpaper Gate sort of behind us. They're winning, which obviously always helps when a team's got a winning culture. They try hard, they compete, they do it in the spirit of the game, they have a bit of niggle about them. I think they're just a great team to watch right now, and they're good in all formats too, right? The T20 World Champions 2 tournaments ago, the World Cup, current World Cup champions, current Test World Champions, current Ashes holders. Don't have the Border Gavaskar Trophy, which we're trying to get right now, which is slowly but surely, getting a little harder over by over right here.
Yeah.
But one more thing I'll say about Konstas is, it's one thing to do it in that first innings. And in the first innings, there was pressure because of what was said in the media in the build-up to the game. But now that he's done it and the entire country's seen it, there is going to be so much pressure on him when he goes out to bat. 1 in the second innings and 2 in the SCG with the build-up for that. There is going to be a lot of talk, a lot of pressure. The Indian bowlers are going to be ready for him. They're going to be up for it. The fans are going to be expecting things. The media is going to be expecting things. There's going to be a lot of pressure on a 19-year-old kid. And he played so free in that first innings. But you just wonder you hope that the success isn't going to hurt his freedom that he's playing with, because
I don't think so. Like, these are just little things for me, but it's stuff that I notice that I kind of take on board, because it gives insight into like a person's personality. But you had all this build up for this kid, 19 years old, Boxing Day Test debut, and then in the national anthem, he's standing next to Steve Smith and making him giggle like a schoolgirl because he's like, you know, just he was like theatrical, like singing and stuff like that. Like, you know how at the end of the anthems there's like that long fare, and like he was doing that, just like opening his mouth, just like just, you know, being a kid.
Yeah, just having a jolly good
Like,
time as a kid. But
obviously looks like full of confidence. He had Steve Smith like giggling. He's just like looked like one of the veterans in the team, just looking so relaxed. And they go out there. It's the biggest opening partnership that we've had in the series. Him and Kawaja. It just helped. Well, what it did look like, it just gave the top order some life, and they actually came out with a bit of confidence. Played some great shots, and I think, did all four of them score over 50?
yeah, they did.
Yeah. So,
No, it was great. And I said his freedom in that first innings was great to watch and a key part of his success. But once you get success, it becomes a different beast. Like, he's gone from 5,000 Instagram followers to something like over 200,000. He's going to be having endorsement deals. He's going to have people looking for interviews 24/7. His phone's going to be ringing off the hook. His family phones are going to be ringing off the hook. He's going to have people messaging him, calling him that he hasn't talked to for years. Like, success, especially this sort of spotlight success, is a different beast to deal with. So what you said in the lead up to the test with the anthem and all that was all before he got all this fame. Now, he's no longer just a unknown quantity. Now he's the next big thing. And that has ruined a lot of people in many different sports, many different countries. And yes, as you say, his temperament and the way he goes about it seems to be, he should be able to deal with that, because he just seems to be able to brush it off and just have a good time. He's young, doesn't seem to care too much. But once you start gaining things, the flip side to that is now you have something to lose. Coming into this, you had nothing to lose. Just see what you can do. Once he has something to lose, endorsements, money, the fame, you can start playing a little tighter, and you might not ramp Boomer on the second or third over anymore. You know, like, there's sort of interesting how it affects his mindset. So for me, this second innings is going to be so fun to watch, to see how he goes, because you know Boomer is going to be on his A game, the best bowler in the world. And as we said, it wasn't if Konstas came out first over and started smashing him around. He was lucky not to edge one of those, and could have been out third ball. And what a different scenario we're talking about. So if in the second innings Boomer gets him third ball, yeah, and then in the SCG gets out cheaply, and then maybe there was just a one shining light and that was the story. Or he could come out and smash Boomer and get another century in the second innings. I mean, we just don't know. It's still so early, but it's fascinating. It's going to be, everyone's going to be watching and anticipating and writing about it either way. And you just know the news and the broadcasters and the journalists are going to be hoping that he makes a big score, because that's going to be the lead going into the SCG test.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the media's really got behind him. He's
everywhere
at the moment. They've been showing him once he's been on the sidelines, cheering right on the side.
Yep.
Like, he's all over the posters at the moment on KO when you go in to watch it. So, as everyone is when they're the talk of the team and stuff like that. So, yeah, obviously we don't know what's going to happen. He could come out and have another bag of 5 different shots that he might play and that he didn't show in the first innings, and, you know, shock some more people. Or, you know, India might come out with a plan and execute, and he's probably not ready for that. But I read a story. He's been mentored by Shane Watson.
Oh, yeah.
For like the past 2 years, apparently, since he started Sheffield when he was 17. And obviously Shane, he's been a veteran of the game, you know, especially in the test team for a while. And once he left, he spoke about how he didn't know how to deal with the mental side of the game. Especially Watson, like, I remember when he was getting out in the 90s, like, that was a thing, 2 series in a row, I believe. And he went over to, I think he went overseas, and he spoke to Will Power in the IndyCar series, and how he prepares for races, like the psychological coaching that he does and stuff like that. And so apparently he's really learnt how to sort of really get in touch with his mind, and how he goes through preparation and stuff like that. So
he wrote a book about it, I think, Watson. I was talking
really?
about it in the Big Bash the other night.
Yeah.
About a book Watson wrote about exactly that, the mental game, how to overcome the blocks you put in your mind, and apparently it's a great book. I mean, obviously read it, but basically goes about everything you're saying there. And because of that, he seems like a great mentor to have. Someone who's been through it, who's
I've always
thought
been
about
a big
it.
fan of him.
Yeah, someone who's been through it, who's thought about it, has obviously come up with solutions and come up with ways of dealing with those mental anxieties. And for a young kid to have someone like that to steer you in the right direction and to help you mentally, I mean, that would be just invaluable. So he's got all the right tools. He's got the platform to go to big things. It's
just needs to put it together.
The thing with cricket is it's all great, but at the end of the day, your only job is to score runs, and if he scores runs, everything else will take care of itself. If he stops scoring runs, well, as I said, it could be a flash in the pan, but we'll wait and see. Create some excitement. I said that pat myself on the back here. I said that they should swap McSweeney out and put Konstas in because it's the best way to compare the two, right? Like, you don't know what you have in Konstas. Well, sorry, let me say, you now know what you have in Konstas in a direct comparison to McSweeney because now they've had to face the same bowling lineup. If you let McSweeney play all 5 tests and put Konstas in against Bangladesh and he gets a century, it was like, well, is Konstas really better than McSweeney, or McSweeney just have to face a harder bowling attack? Whereas now, you have the direct comparison, you know that Konstas can play against the best bowling attack in the world with confidence and can hit them around.
On the biggest stage as well.
On the biggest stage, of course. And he still has a few more opportunities to prove it too. So it was a good move by the Australian selectors and George Bailey. Clearly a masterstroke, and they could have unearthed the star at the perfect moment, right? The Boxing Day test, most eyeballs you'll have watching it, and no better way to start a career.
Definitely, 100%. No, it's been it's absolute showcast to watch these past couple of days.
It's definitely getting concerning here for the Aussies, though, because this victory is slipping out of their hands.
Just keeps going.
I think ideally they were hoping to have him out by now. They'd bat for the rest of the day and bat for like the first session tomorrow, build a 350-run lead, 350-run lead, probably declared just before tea, and try and have a day and a session and a half to bowl at them. Now it's looking like India will probably bat all the way through the day today, maybe even into tomorrow, which means Australia will have
just takes the win away, and
and
looks more likely like a draw.
The lead is only, 100 and something now?
Yeah.
So Australia will have to bat and get at least 200 and something runs. And it also introduces the possibility where if Australia's top order collapses, suddenly that pressure, whereas imagine if we're like 4 for 50 and we're only 150 in front, and we get all out for 250. All of a sudden, 250 in the fourth innings in a pitch like this, which yes, it will be harder on the 5th day, but you with the way these lower order, they said India bat about 8 or 9 deep, so 250 for them. They're used to T20 and one day cricket. They will think that's well in the game. And you got to remember, if India win this Test match, they've locked up the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So this partnership is either probably at minimum saving the draw for India, and at best could be the catalyst for them to win this game if the Australian batsmen
have a collapse.
Because that's the thing. Mentally, you got to think that the Australian batsmen were probably thinking, all right, we're going to go in with a 150, 200 run lead. We can go in, just flex our muscle, have a hit, no pressure on us, try and get a quick
450 up.
Yeah, try and get a quick 150, 200 runs. And now, all of a sudden, they might only be going in with a 100 or less lead, thinking, wow, we actually need to get 200, 300 here.
Again.
That's it. And all this time in the field, I mean, they're going to 120 overs in the field.
Yeah.
All the emotion of the Boxing Day test, they're feeling good after their first innings. This could very easily be a nightmare scenario for the Aussies. So, yeah, it's just like that's what Test match cricket for you, right? Is things can flip on its head. You can have a couple quick wickets, or like this, you can have a ninth wicket partnership, and completely turns the game on its head. These two are batted excellent. I mean, Reddy's probably been the best Indian batter, maybe apart from Jaiswal, but he's had a few low scores. Reddy's probably been the most consistent, and he's looking like he's going to get 100 here. Washington Sundar, he was our kryptonite in that last series where India won 2-3 years ago. Yeah. And he's proved it again that he's just a really good batter in Australian conditions. Not his bowling is a bit left to be desired. If he wants to be a top-tier all-rounder and sort of take that Jadeja position, he needs to be a bit of a better bowler. But his batting is top class for an all-rounder. Reddy's the same boat. His bowling needs to get a little better to become a world-class all-rounder. But his batting is clearly, I mean, he could probably bat 6. So if those two can get their bowling at a top level, I mean, India have just got a ready replacement for Hardik Pandya and Ravindra Jadeja whenever they want to leave the Test arena. These two are young. Reddy's, I think, 21, so they have a long future ahead of them. And they have a chance here to really... I mean, they could just keep batting and batting and batting. I mean, they don't even look like getting a wicket right now. They only trail by 129. They get this down to 50. So, like, I mean, my goodness, what a game we're talking about here. And the Aussies are starting to probably get fatigued, get tired, a little disappointed. Feel mentally drained, physically drained. It's going to be an interesting couple of days. I think finally we're going to get a test match that goes deep into day 5.
It is, and soon as long as this keeps going, the batters are going to be angsting there. Obviously, we already spoke about a youngster who's just waiting to go back out there again. And when you have too much time on your hands and goes through your head.
I reckon they all thought they'd already be out there now.
Yeah.
And you got to think India in that dressing room is sitting there going, wow. Because remember, I don't know if you saw at the start of the day's play today, all the commentary was on Rohit Sharma. You saw that? They kept replaying the conversation between Sharma, the head coach, and Kohli. And the media was saying, like, it doesn't look good. They look like they're not happy, that they're having arguments and all this sort of thing. All of a sudden, the media is going to flip on its head and they won't be talking about that anymore.
I mean,
it's just funny. I was thinking about this earlier, how we were talking after the first test, how all the media was talking about Labuschagne, and they were slowly creating the narrative that Labuschagne was a problem, needs to be dropped, that Smith's having problems. And then obviously you win the second test and no one's worried about that anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's like the same thing was happening here, where the narrative was slowly being created that India have internal problems. Sharma hasn't won a test match in 5 games or something. They look the best when he wasn't in the team. There's sort of inner fractures in the team between the key leadership personnel. This partnership is basically flipping that narrative on its head and putting India with all the momentum and, well, yeah, could save the series for them.
Yeah. I mean, that first innings from Sharma, like, talk about a guy with no confidence. Like, shot was the easiest catch Boland would make of his career. That just went straight down his throat. Like, he just tried to pull Cummings and kind of like just looks like he tried to pull out of it because he did not look like an actual complete shot, and it's just popped up in the air and he's gone, and it just looks like absolute low confidence in a captain. And even when they're fielding, I feel like the bowlers have them wrapped around his finger when they're going for reviews. Like, I think Siraj,
oh, yeah.
He's got him wrapped around his finger. Every time Siraj goes up, Sharma's just going to go straight upstairs.
He's a very confident appealer, Siraj. I would be taking whatever he says with a grain of salt. 100%. But no, you're right. I mean, we've been harping on the Sharma thing the entire series.
Yeah.
That he hasn't looked good. I mean, the media's finally catching up now that he's looking out of confidence. People are talking about retirement and all this sort of thing. I think retirement's too much. I think just drop the captaincy. Give it to Bumrah. I said it. I've literally been saying it every episode for the last 5 episodes. Drop the captaincy. Take away this responsibility. He doesn't look happy. Let him focus on his batting. Let him get back in the groove. Let him regain his form. Bumrah is in the ascension. He's got everyone's respect across the world's game of cricket.
That first test was his first game of captaincy, right?
And it was a great game.
1, right?
I thought it was. I think we're moving into an era where bowlers are going to become ideal captains. He's fine.
Do you want me to open up the door there?
Where bowlers are going to become ideal captains. I just think bowlers, they read the game. They understand the field positions. They sort of can get in the batsman's head. That's what they do for a living. I think we're seeing with Pat Cummins, seeing with Ben Stokes, and I think Bumrah would be one. I don't think teams should be scared to put bowlers as captain anymore. And I think for Sharma's own good, for the Indian team's own good, I think it's time for a fresh start. Get Bumrah in there. Let Sharma either come in at open the batting or come in at 3, and he can just focus on his batting. Because as you said, that first dismissal in this innings was something that was this whole innings. You're just waiting for him to get out, right? Like he's one of those guys right now where you watch him bat, and it's like any ball is going to get out. He does not look comfortable. He does not look in control. He looks like a guy who's just hoping things work out for him, and that's never a good way to be in cricket.
I mean, if there's anyone from the India cricket team watching, feel free to do it after this series.
Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't like to. I can't see them doing it before the 5th test, right? That would just create too much drama. But look, if anyone from the Indian team is watching, just give us a call and we can... We'll
give you some guys on blue lounges.
We'll give you some guidance because, as I said, we could have saved you the hassle a few test matches ago, but it's all right, the offer's there.
Was there anything else on the cricket that you wanted to touch on? I feel like that's everything so far.
Yeah, that's everything. I mean, we'll see. But next time when we coming to you on your screens, we'll know the result of this match, and the Konstas second innings question will be answered. This partnership, we'll find if it ends up getting broken, a draw or a win. And I said there's still really any result up in the air right now. I'd say draw most likely. Australia win is still possible, but they have to get these wickets soon, and the batters will have to play aggressive. You have to have Konstas do well, Travis Head, the batters that score at quick pace will have to score well runs because I don't think we can win if we get bat for 100 overs. I mean, it just won't be enough time.
No, Head will be looking to redeem himself.
For sure.
After the duck. That was a good ball that got him, though.
Great ball.
Just,
that happens.
Just a bad leave.
But India has still come from the... I mean, if you had the win viz up, I'm sure they would have had a probably less than 10% chance of winning at the start of today's play, especially once Jadeja got out. But now it would have to be well up there in their chance to win. So, anyone's game right now. This next, to the close of day today, if we don't break this partnership, I would say India are probably in the box seat. If we do, we can get them all out today. Then I think it's still in Australia's favour.
Yeah.
Just hope for no rain.
No rain, no rain, no rain. Especially in the Sydney Test, please.
Oh, God. I mean, I'm not holding my breath. I think that's been rained out nearly
feels like
every year.
Yeah.
To be fair, we've had a very dry patch recently, so hopefully it holds up.
But usually that means it goes to...
It does.
It goes the opposite way.
Positivity.
Yeah. Let's transition to NFL.
Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting down to crunch time right now.
It is.
Week 17, 1 week left.
Playoff pitches starting
to form.
There's only a few divisions that are still up in the air, right? You got the... I always forget the things. You got the Rams division. Rams definitely have the box seat with the Seahawks. Yeah, losing. No, they won yesterday, 6-3. We won't really talk about that game for everyone's sake, but that was a massive. That was a must-win game for them, so they're still alive.
Yeah.
You still have the Lions Vikings still fighting it out for the number 1 seed. I mean, clearly they're already playoff bound, but winning that division is massive because you're probably going to get the 1 or 2 seed, which is a big difference compared to the 5 seed.
Yep.
You have the NFC South still up for grabs with the Bucks and the Falcons. Are they playing this week?
Yes.
That's a massive game.
Oh, no, sorry, not together.
Not together?
No, not each other. Buccaneers have Panthers and Falcons have Washington.
2 big games for both of those.
Yeah, huge.
But that division's still up for grabs. I think a lot of the AFC is already settled. Just a few wild cards.
Yeah, you've already got Chiefs. They've locked
obviously,
up
Bills,
the 1
obviously.
seed. Bills have locked up their division.
Ravens and Steelers
have
are still
taken the
initiative. Yeah. But Steelers have to lose. So do they still have to lose 1 more?
Yeah, they're 1 game behind. So I think if they...
The Steelers are 1 game behind?
Yeah, Steelers are 1 game behind right now.
Oh,
so
damn.
I think Ravens just need to win 1 more, correct?
I think so.
They would just
they've split their win-loss across the season split, so I don't know how that tiebreaker will work, but yeah, that division's still theoretically open. I think Ravens are pretty heavy favourites to win that.
Yeah.
And then the Texans have clearly obviously won their division. And then it'll be the wild card spots, right? The Bengals are still trying to get in.
Bengals are alive.
The Broncos, Chargers, Dolphins, and Colts. I think it's going to be between Colts. Yeah, Colts.
Well, yeah, technically,
Bengals.
Bengals, Colts, and Dolphins are all on 7 wins.
I think they'll be fighting it out for the last spot.
They need either. They kind of need the Broncos to lose both games.
Who are the wild cards at the moment? It'll be Steelers, Broncos, Chargers.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it won't be. So those 3 are going to be fighting to try to take over the Broncos or Chargers.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So really, it's for Broncos and Chargers and Steelers, like winning your win, basically.
Steelers are pretty much done. It's going to be between the Broncos. I mean, Steelers would have to lose all their remaining games, I think.
Yeah.
But it's possible because they're not playing very well right now. So, but yeah, the Broncos and Chargers would basically be required to choke pretty hard, and you'd need the Bengals or any of those teams to run the slate.
Yeah. So now it's starting to get down to crunch time, which is the best time for sure.
Playoff NFL. It's a different beast,
gravy,
isn't it?
Different gravy.
It's unmatched. I mean, you got to deal with the 100 ad breaks, but apart from that, it's excellent viewing.
100%. Do you want to touch on week 16 and what that was?
Yeah, don't really want to do the picks, but
true.
Wasn't a good week.
True.
First losing week.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, we'll just go through the picks and then touch on those games.
Do you want me to read?
Yeah, read them out for me, bro. I've tried to forget about it.
I'll start with the good one. Lions -6.5 versus the Bears.
Yeah.
I had this one with you as well.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty much a
Lions. I mean, the Bears are they're dead. We saw last night their offense ran out of any juice they had. Yeah. Lions were desperate after a loss the week before. I think it was a pretty easy spot to back them under a touchdown. We saw this line was fishy.
Yeah.
I think maybe just because the Bears are just a popular team in general, and people were very down on the Lions after seeing them lose in prime time. So books were just hoping a lot of money would come in both sides of that. But I think anyone who actually watches the Bears, like just watches them closely, can see that they're a team in disarray. And you saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
Absolute disarray. So for me, that was pretty safe bet, and I'm glad they gave us a 6.5.
Yeah. I think it was basically everyone just waiting for the next win to come through. Like, you had them against the 49ers that week. You learnt your lesson. I didn't the following week against the Vikings in prime time. I learnt my lesson the following week after. Well, and we both went the Lions, so that was a win. And then you had, a team that you've been on and off with, Jets plus 3.5 against the Rams.
Yeah, look, the Jets were winning this game, right? Like, they were winning this game, I think, into the first half. But then just the second half collapsed from the Jets. They couldn't mount any late offense. Aaron Rodgers had his worst game in a few weeks. Like, I don't think the Rams played great. I think both defenses played pretty well. The Jets just didn't have anything left in the second half to sort of mount any offense. And, yeah, you bet on the Jets, you reap what you sow, and just got to take it on the chin.
And Steelers plus 6.5 versus the Ravens. We're both on this one.
Yeah, look, as we said when I made this bet, Ravens were the better team. I expected them to win. I was just hoping it could be close. It was close about halfway through. And you're thinking, okay, this should be a good game. And then the Ravens just absolutely ran away with it. Yeah. Steelers couldn't put any offense in. Ravens just flexed their muscle and showed how good they can be. Lamar finally had a good game against the Steelers. The run game, Derrick Henry was just running all over him. And
Steelers struggled with points, finding any offense without George Pickens there.
Yep, and then we saw that again this week against the Chiefs on Christmas, where their offense has just been, I don't know if it's been figured out. I don't know if they're just struggling. Did Pickens play on Christmas Day?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. See, I think teams are starting to figure out Russell Wilson, and they're coming up with schemes to deal with him, and it's danger signs for the Steelers. They're screaming one and done right now.
Yeah, I was watching that game on Boxing Day for us, and the start of their drives. So when they do really well is obviously through their run game. And so what they're doing is they have Russ over center, so they can either do the run option or the play action pass. And so that's how they, get in defenses' heads, like, are you going to run it? Are you going to pass it? And they just didn't do that at the start. They then went to it later. But still, again, they couldn't find any success with it. So they moved away from what was really helping them early, and it was just a little too late for them.
Yep. I was on the Chiefs in that game as well, so glad I couldn't make that one of my picks. I probably would have.
Next is Giants plus 8.5 versus the Falcons.
Yeah, well, the Falcons just had a great game. Probably their best game in weeks.
Penix first start.
Played really well.
200 plus yards.
It wasn't like an incredible statistic game, but it was just a clean game. He clearly had more in the tank than Cousins was providing.
I don't think he had any turnovers or anything.
It was just a good game. It's a clean game. Just was what the Falcons have basically been wanting all year. They have an excellent offensive line, have a great run game. If you just had a QB who doesn't make mistakes and can offer some threat with the arm and with his legs, which he did, and they look like a complete team. And Falcons fans will be asking what it took so long. I think it was probably an ownership decision to keep. You're paying Cousins all that money. You don't want to basically admit defeat by changing him during the first season, knowing that you still have all that, there's years left on the books and all the guaranteed money you still have to pay him. But in terms of pure performance, it was a decision that should have been made a few weeks ago. It may have cost them that division by not doing it sooner when they went on that losing streak, but it's still early days. But for him to do that in his first NFL start was really impressive, and that bet for me was just a first NFL start. But he showed that he's a bit more experienced too, right? He was a ready-made prospect coming out of college, and he showed he was ready straight up.
Yeah. And then the final one was Texans plus 3.5 versus the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs have been covering all of a sudden the last 3 weeks, just been covering. They went on that massive run during the season where they just, anything above 3, they just could not cover. And now 3 weeks in a row, they've been blowing teams out. Mahomes has been playing great the last few weeks. 300 plus yards, 3 TDs. He did against the Steelers, did against the Texans, did the week before against the Browns.
He was hurt in this game, right? It wasn't just the last game he was hurt?
Still hurt. He was more hurt last week, but he's better.
Yeah.
But, we also said that the Chiefs had 3 games in 10 days, and they covered all 3 of those games in that 10 days.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I kept harping on that I kept betting against him, just assuming that one of these games they would take the foot off the gas. They've already basically locked up the number 1 seed. Mahomes was injured. They've got all these games in such a short period. They might just, not that they'll take the foot off the gas, but just allow a team to stick around in these games like they've been doing all year. But somehow they've managed to go the other way, where they finally got a wicket, where they finally went the other way, and they've gotten better offensively. They're looking the best they've looked all year, which is scary for these teams because, what are they, 16-1 now? Coming into the last week of the year, they probably will rest everyone this week. They're going to have every player fit and healthy coming into the playoffs. They'll have the first round bye. They're looking
15-1.
They're looking as ready as you possibly will ever be for a 3-peat.
Yeah. Undefeated at home, 8-0.
Yeah, well, I said that they'll be at home the entire way through to the Super Bowl if they keep winning. And so the offense is playing great, the defense is excellent, and we know the defense and Chris Jones step up in the playoffs. So as a Chiefs fan, you may have been a little nervous throughout the year, thinking, "Oh my goodness, we're not looking very good, but we're winning." And I said these last few weeks, their offense has picked it up. The Steelers' defense was considered a great defense, and they made that look silly on Christmas. The Browns' defense was supposed to be a good defense and made that look silly. And the Texans are a playoff team. They'll be winning their division, probably the 4 seed. So, and then they just made them look silly. So there's a good chance the Chiefs will probably verse the Texans in the divisional round or something, like a team around there in the divisional round. So, yeah, I think for the Chiefs, it'll come down to that conference game against either the Bills or the Ravens. And if they win that, I don't know if I can see a team in the NFC beating them.
Yeah, going for the 3-peat.
Yeah, it's a bad week for me. It was due. I was due. I started off 0-2 from the 2 Saturday games, which was never going to end well for me. The Jets pick ended up costing me 2, but yeah, got to take it on the chin.
And then for me, so yeah, I was on Steelers with you. We spoke about that. I was on the Lions with you. So 1-1 at the moment. And then I had Bengals -7.5 against the Browns. And this one was pretty much coasty the whole way. I think Bengals ended up winning by like 18-20.
I doubted you on this one, but
yeah, so this was the one that we thought wasn't going to get through. But yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they're just such a great 1-2 pairing. They're leading in yards, they're leading in touchdowns. Just unfortunate their defense couldn't keep up. Otherwise, they probably could have been a scary team in the playoffs to face.
And on the other end of this coin, the other side of this coin, the Browns they cost me a lot this year. And I still doubted your bet because I still thought they had something. I trusted their defense. I thought their offense could be meddling, but no, they shut up shop a few weeks ago. And you got on that train at the right time. I didn't, and it cost me 2 weeks ago, and it would have cost me if I probably would have been on the Brown side again this week. So staying well away.
Yeah. And then my next one, I was pretty confident with this one, but didn't end up happening. Buccaneers -3.5 against the Cowboys, and Cowboys actually end up winning the game outright.
Cooper Rush. They're playing well, the Cowboys.
Yeah, well, they kind of lost CeeDee Lamb now for the season, so I don't know if they'll get another win after losing their number 1 wide receiver. But yeah, this game, the Buccaneers defense just didn't turn up. It looks like they were just giving up too many big plays, and on the counter, Cowboys defense kind of showed up as well. Buccaneers have always looked like a really strong offensive team, especially towards the end of the season. And yeah, Micah and his defense, they showed up. They were at home, weren't they? I think they were at Dallas.
I can't remember.
I think so. And crowd was getting into it. So yeah, unfortunately that one didn't come through.
I watched the end of this game and I thought the Bucs were going to come back and win because they were down 10, I think, with 5 minutes left. They went down and scored a touchdown. Cowboys had a 3-and-out, and I thought Baker's going to roll down the field and win this game. It's going to be game over. But I think it was a fumble. I think they were marching, and it was a fumble and a turnover, and that was the game. So it was one of those ones where I think you still were well alive deep in this game, and I thought you were going to get the cover. But just one of those ones where the ball was taken out of Baker's hands by a turnover by one of the wide receivers, and that was it.
More likely it could have just ended up with a field goal as well, right? If they were down by 2.
Could have been. I could have got the numbers mixed up, but I think either way, I thought the Bucs were definitely going to win this game, and it just, as fate had it, the Cowboys got a bit of luck at the end, but I still think you're on the right side of this game, to be honest. I think the Bucs are the better team.
Yeah.
Just the Cowboys, I said Cooper Rush,
decide to show up.
He can put these games on. The last few weeks he's put these games on. He's definitely a good backup.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And then my final one to round out is Vikings -2.5 against the Seahawks. And this ended up Vikings.
You were so nervous about this one.
I was nervous. I didn't know what side to pick. Ended up covering by the half point because the Vikings won by 3. Vikings went up early though, right? Wasn't it like?
Yep. The Vikings do this. They start off games hot.
And then Seahawks started to just crawl it back a little bit.
The Vikings offense stalled big time in the third quarter.
Which is, I mean, we could probably talk about it a bit later in our Week 17 picks, but, you know, a lot of people are doubting these Vikings, as we would say, when you look at the line for this week against the Packers. Like, they're at home and it's only half a point split.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which is crazy to think about, that a team, if they do win against the Packers, it's going to be a great matchup against the Lions in the final week to see who gets the 1 seed. And
I hope it happens.
Yeah, so that rounds out my picks. I went 3 and 2. So I'm after week 16, 24 and 16 for me, 21-19 for you.
Well, look, till this last week. Or second last week? 2 more weeks. So 2 more weeks. Right. So need a good bounce back week this week for me.
I'm guessing we can't really do this during playoff season. It's tough to.
Well, I reckon we do
change it to 3 or something.
I reckon we do a separate we'll do a playoff. We'll basically
like a bracket or something.
We'll basically predict every game of the playoffs,
cool.
We'll see what our record is by the end.
Yeah, I like it.
If it's all right, I want you to start this week because I'm still undecided on a couple. So I'm hoping you can convince me of a couple of these picks. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So week 17, as we said, coming into the final the playoff hopes for some teams, and my first one here, it's basically a win in they're in for them, and I've got the Broncos plus 3.5 against the Bengals. I was 50-50 on this matchup. I do like the Bengals. I would have loved if they could have put something together and made the playoffs this year. I'm just a fan of Burrow and Jamar and just that offense. They look so good sometimes.
They're mathematically still in it. I mean, they have to win this one.
Yeah, they do. They have to win this one. They have to win the next one, and they have to hope for Broncos to lose next week as well against a Chiefs team.
Who rest
that
everyone.
Will probably rest.
True.
And it'll be Carson.
I mean, look, that's still not going to be an easy. I mean, Chiefs will still be tough to beat.
Yeah.
They just have that winning culture, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be an easy out. So if the Bengals win this week, there's still a fighter's chance.
Yeah. But yeah, I went the Broncos. Obviously, they're trying to clinch that playoff berth. They haven't been in the playoffs since like 2015, back when
Peyton Manning.
Peyton, and they went to the Super Bowl against Carolina, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got them beating the Bengals. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak, so I expect it to be a close contest. So I'm taking the points. Broncos actually have the best against the spread record in the NFL.
Really?
At 11-3.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. And they've covered the last 5 games straight. So, but what I really like is you're going to have Jamar Chase on offense going up against Patrick Surtain in the
Great
secondary
matchup
there. And obviously that does open it up for Higgins for their offense, but they do have Riley Moss coming back, the Broncos. And since he went out about a month ago, their last 3 games, they've given up the most yardage 2 out of those 3 games.
Wow. One
against the Browns and the other against Chargers. Yeah. So they're getting a boost in their secondary, which is definitely needed for a very heavy offense in the Bengals.
Yeah, you need 2 good corners if you're going to play against the Bengals.
Yeah, so they're definitely going to have that this game. So that's why I kind of like the Broncos keeping it close, at least by a field goal. So I'll take the points in that one. My next one, I'm taking the Chargers minus 5.5 against the Patriots. And the Patriots have struggled stopping the run, and it looks like Dobbins is going to be back this week for the Chargers. So I like the Chargers offense. It's kind of fallen off since they've lost that run game with Dobbins. So they kind of have like the perfect matchup right now. Obviously, they're still trying to make sure they get into the playoffs, and going into New England, the weather's expected to be a bit rainy as well. So I do expect like a low-scoring game. I kind of think it will be like Chargers 21-13 sort of style. Like Drake, people have been, loving Drake May and it's sort of how he's been performing these past couple of weeks. They haven't been winning, obviously, but just as a rookie and what that means for their team in the future moving forward. He does keep throwing interceptions. He's thrown at least one interception the past 7 games.
He's a gunslinger.
And you kind of don't want the Chargers offense to run and sort of hold up that possession of the ball. Massive coaching mismatch, hardball versus Mayo. I know exactly what coach I want to take over that.
Definitely.
So yeah, I like a low scoring game. I still think they'll at least win by the 6 points. So 21-13, I kind of think it will probably sit within that sort of range, especially against a top defense in the Chargers. Like Patriots are just going to have trouble
you have to think the Patriots don't want to win this game. Oh, they're thinking draft picks, right?
I mean, yeah. If they win this one, that's just an ultimate. They drop out of the top 2.
I think they're second now.
I
think they're second.
Yeah.
The difference between the second pick and the 6th pick is massive.
All they need to do is get a top 2 pick, and what they could do is just trade that for a team that needs a quarterback. Get some extras.
Yeah.
Do some trades that way.
You basically also, again, that's number 2 pick is you're basically guaranteeing that you get the best non-QB in the draft.
Yeah.
And for a team that just drafted what they think is their future QB, I mean, that's massive. You get a great offensive lineman, you get a good defensive end. I mean, hopefully they don't go wide receiver, but that's for the Patriots. I mean, that's a big thing.
Yeah. My third one, I'm sticking in LA. I'm going Rams -6.5 against the Cardinals.
It's tomorrow, right?
Yes. I think all 3 of these games are tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all 3 of them are tomorrow. So I'm going to be 3 games deep after tomorrow.
That's crazy.
We'll see how the other 2 finish me. But yeah, I took the Rams here. Cardinals, I've always said looks like an inconsistent team. They sort of turned out to be like that towards the later half of the year. Rams are, a team with it all to play for in this matchup. Like Cardinals, they've missed their boat now. They can't make the playoffs. Rams, if they win and they're in. So they're in the box seat for their division. When these 2 teams faced earlier in the season, it was like a 40-10 whitewash, I think, for Cardinals, who didn't have Puka for their offense as well, who's obviously their number 1 wide receiver behind Kupp. Kyron, he was held to minimal yards as well, but recently he's been on an absolute heater. Like the last 4 games, he's rushed for 400 plus yards and 4 touchdowns, so he's definitely in form. The one thing I don't like from this matchup is obviously Kyler and his scrambles. Obviously, we've spoken about this before, and Rams are a team that have given up the scramble yardage a lot against others. Like Josh Allen, when they versed him, he was loving life, just running around. I think he got 80 plus, I want to say, on the ground. So that's the one thing. I think Rams, they're going to need a strategy on defense just to contain Kyler and just apply that pressure. It is a lot of points to lay. I need them to win by a touchdown. But I think McVay's going to sort of have the team full of confidence going into that to try and lock up that division. Okay,
I think Rams either smoke them or there's a tight game.
Yeah.
There seems to be no difference with the Rams. And you're going to know early.
You'll know early.
If the Rams offense is on early, there's going to be a good game for them. If this is one of those games where they come out to a 3 and out and can't get anything going offensively, this is going to be for a tough slog.
It's going to be a last drive ditch effort to try and win it by
it's one or the other with the Rams. Yeah. It's crazy for an offensive coach how up and down they can be offensively. But as I said, usually the first quarter with the Rams, you can get a good feel for the rest of the game.
I mean, who knows? Maybe it's ideally to drop this to a -5.5, so at least if it goes to OT, try and hope for a touchdown in overtime to still cover that number.
Seriously.
My 4th pick is Tampa Bay. I'm sticking with them. Buccaneers against the Carolina Panthers, -8.5.
Wow.
Massive line. Massive line.
A dangerous one.
Everyone's talking about the improvement from Young, but it's come off the run game with Chuba. And the Buccaneers are a top 10 run defense in the league right now. So without Chuba being able to get those yards, it's going to sort of more rely on and force Bryce Young to sort of throw the pass. And, you know, we know once he's gunslinging, he's... what am I trying to say? He's not due, but he's known for throwing interceptions and creating turnovers.
Yeah. Carolina have looked better, though, the past few weeks. They're a team that's on the up.
It's a divisional matchup. Usually those are pretty close.
And Bucks are desperate. And when you have a desperate team against a free-flowing team, anything can happen. You can have a 40-3 win, or you can have a 23-20 game. So, yeah, it's interesting.
That's what, yeah, so hopefully Baker and that Tampa offense come out, you know, hotter than last week against Dallas. They had no points in that first quarter, and I think probably only had... I think they started out with 2 field goals in the second quarter as well. So hopefully they come out early. Bucky Irving have some big production on the run there. They've got Mike Evans. He can produce some yardage for sure. They've got heaps of weapons on offense. So hopefully it's a blowout win for the Buccaneers, who are looking to close up that South Division against the Falcons.
Yep. If you lose this one, you're in serious trouble.
And then my final one to round out the 5 is I'm sticking with Detroit, -3.5 over the 49ers. I'm jumping back on basically the wagon of the best offense in the league right now. Their offense speaks for itself. All their questions has really come on the injuries on defense. Luckily, they're running into a cold 49ers team that haven't put up a good offensive game since their matchup with the Chicago Bears.
Yep, which we know are dead in the water.
So they've struggled to put points on the board recently. So I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the Lions. I'm happy laying the points with these Lions, especially with the troubles with the 49ers. They're having troubles in the special teams. Moody, he's having an absolute...
bad quotes coming out of the 49ers too.
Heartbreaker of the year for him. And their defense just gave up 29 points to Miami last week. So, 49ers just haven't looked the same against the good teams. And, they're running into a Lions team chasing the 1 seed. So, I think that's a dangerous matchup for them. So, Lions -3.5. So my top 5, just so it's all in order. Broncos +3.5 against the Bengals. The Chargers -5.5 against the Patriots. The Rams -6.5 against the Cardinals. Buccaneers -8.5 against the Panthers. And then the Lions -3.5 against the 49ers.
Wow.
And that's my week 17 picks.
Very good. Very on brand. I feel like you've picked a lot that
I feel
you
like
usually go with.
Yeah, that Buccaneers -8.5, it gives me vibes of Bengals last week, basically.
Yeah, I see that. Alright, let me just redo mine because mine freaking got deleted. You didn't want to touch the Eagles-Cowboys game? Like, they have any inkling on that one?
What's the line at that right now?
7.5.
I think I heard something today that Hurts might not play.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's why I stayed away. I heard something about Hurts maybe not playing.
Hurts out, CeeDee Lamb out.
That could have been old news, though.
Well, concussion, yeah, you typically want a bigger break, right? So
I kind of just stayed away just because it wasn't confirmed.
Yeah. Who would be the backup? Who's the backup for...
Oh, who's their backup?
Who played? I forgot who it was. Do you want to touch the Packers-Vikings game?
Sorry, say that again.
Packers-Vikings. Didn't have a feeling either way on that one.
Packers-Vikings. I was leaning towards Packers. But everyone just keeps saying, don't doubt these Vikings, don't doubt these Vikings.
Yeah, they got the right vibes, the Vikings.
And it kind of...
At home, too.
Probably, yeah, that's why at home, the line should probably be like -2.5 for Vikings, if we're being real.
Yeah, see, like the Packers just get a lot of free points of, like, value. Not on them, but opposite, just because of it seemed to be a team that people like to back.
Especially last year, like they found a lot of offense through Aaron Jones last year on the run, and so Josh Jacobs in that same position, like he can, he's been on a bit of a heater recently. So like the Packers have been looking really hot. That's why I was leaning towards them. But I kind of just found it hard to pick a side. It's going to be a great game to watch, just either way. So
I've got 4 that I like, and the 5th one I just don't know. I think I'll just ride with one of the ones you said. So I'll start off with the one that is the 5th one I just added, which Chargers -4.5. This is just a game where I wish this was 2.5, 3.5. Might be a bit too much to ask for, but more to the point of just, I think the Patriots don't want to win, but I think Drake May and the Patriots are playing with enough freedom that they will be able to keep this a little close. Chargers have a lot to play for, a lot of pressure on them. They know they've got some teams breathing down their neck for that playoff spot. They really need to win this, and whenever you really need to win a game like this, you can start. That's when they can become a lot closer than they need to be.
I feel like they should have won last week as well.
They should have.
So
I do like a team off a loss, especially a team like a Harbaugh coach team off a loss. Saturday game, I just think they're the better team, and I could see Drake May scoring a few touchdowns, but I actually think the Chargers offense will be able to do a fair bit. I reckon this will be like a 24-14 game with Drake May getting like 300 yards and 50 rushing yards, but 2 picks, as you said. Yeah. So, yeah. Next, I'm with you again, Broncos +3. It scares me a little bit how they've been 5 in a row against the spread. I feel like those trends always have to come to an end. And I also worry that they might be looking forward one week thinking we just have to win. Like whenever you think, okay, we just have to win one of the next 2 games, it's like, it's very easy for you to lose the first one when you're thinking like that because you're thinking ahead a little bit. But you got to hope that Sean Payton's got him focused on this one.
You'd think he would as well. Like he's pretty experienced in at least playoff situations.
And you'd have to think that Bo Nix will be able to score some points. Like this is the sort of defense that I think Bo Nix does really well against. It'll be a defense he can throw on. Their offensive line will be way better than the Bengals' defensive line. He should just have a field day. You have to think this will be actually a pretty high scoring game. That typically will favour the Bengals, but I think you take the points in this one. Bengals know they need to win this too, so I think this has a close field goal game written all over it, and you want the +3 on this.
Yeah.
Next, I'm going against you on this one. Panthers +8 against the Bucks. I think the Panthers are just playing better than the sort of their form suggests. I think they've been playing well the last few weeks. I think the Bucks win this one. I could absolutely be walking into just a smack right here where the Buccaneers come out and blow them out. That is 100% on the cards, but on the flip side to that, if the Panthers play how they have the last month, I think this will be a close game. I think the Buccaneers showed last week that they can be inconsistent. Now, that could mean bad for me here, where Baker comes out and throws for 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. But I think divisional game, Buccaneers will be playing a little tight. Take the 8 points. Falcons +4 against the Commanders. I think Falcons riding confident after last week. Rookie QB, second game, feeling good after his first game performance. Commanders having a good win against the Eagles last week. But as we know, Hurts came out in that game, and they still almost lost that game to an Eagles team with their backup QB in there. Gave up 35 points. I think this is going to be a close game. If Commanders win, I could see this being a 3 or 4 point win. So I'd like the points in that. I feel pretty good about that one.
I think I saw a stat that the rookie QBs that started the first game, their second game, they did better in yardage.
Well, that's the case, then we're guaranteed to cover.
Yeah.
And then again, I'm with you on this last one. Lions -3.5. I don't know. The Niners keep getting a lot of respect, but they're just not a team that is deserving of that.
They're not last season's.
No, and the biggest thing for me, probably more than any other, is the quotes I'm hearing coming out of the dressing room of the Niners, where you had some of the quotes coming from Shanahan talking about how the team knows we're finished, or I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something about knowing that the season's over, now we're mathematically eliminated and we're playing like it, and they seem like a team that's a little shocked that they're eliminated. They seem like a team that's knows they're in for a rebuild, but it just seems everything doesn't seem well organized in the San Francisco house. So whereas Detroit, on the other hand, know they need to win to keep the pace for that top seed, to win the division, to try to get the top seed. They know they need to win this one. Yes, there's always a possibility that the Niners come out with a lot of fire in the belly and sort of give Detroit a tough game here. You have to think Purdy will be able to move the ball a bit on this Lions defense, but on the flip side, you'd have to also think that the Lions will be able to move the ball on the 49ers defense. Now, the 49ers defense has looked pretty good actually the last few weeks, but the Lions offense is a different beast. So I wouldn't, again, much prefer this if it was -2.5. It probably was -2.5 earlier. It looks like it's trending towards that, but I'll have to take the 3.5 and I'll go with that. So I went Lions -3.5, Falcons +4.5, Panthers +8.5, Broncos +3 and 3.5, and Chargers -4.5. So we have 3 the same, 1 on the opposite sides, and 1 individual.
Oh, did charges go down to 4.5 now?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
-4.5.
Can I change mine to -4.5 then?
I'll let you,
Sweet. Works for me.
That means we're on the wrong side of this, though.
What do you mean?
Oh, no, we're on the right side.
We're on the same side
-5
of this
to
one.
-4. No, we're on the wrong side. Because the line's moving against us, right?
Yeah.
Coming down.
But with our theories, it helps with less points laying.
Of course, yeah, but it means that all the money's coming in.
All the money's coming in on Patriots.
Yeah. Wow, man. You're brave betting on the Patriots here.
Maybe that changes back to -5.5.
Maybe. It's weird, these Saturday games.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Saturday for them. I don't know how this is going to go. But we'd like to get back into winning ways this week. Feeling a bit nervous about the Panthers pick, but it's all right. We'll take the 8 points.
With 3 the same, 1 each outlier, and then on opposite sides in the Buccaneers-Panthers matchup.
Yeah.
Not too bad. That'll be interesting.
I mean, you'll know a lot of your fate
I'll
by...
know a lot of my
tomorrow.
fate after tomorrow. Yeah, so let's hope for a good Sunday.
Cricket looks like it's done for the day. Reddy got his 100. They're 1 wicket away. So Australia, I think 100 and something ahead. End of day. Day 3. I think Australia definitely in the better position, but I think a draw is the most likely outcome now. It'll be difficult for India to win. They'll have to basically bowl Australia out for 150 or 200. Maybe, I would say about 150 to win this game. But in saying that, that's on the cards. I think if Australia are going to win, they're going to have to score quickly and get a lot of wickets with the new ball. But yeah, I think draw is the most likely.
Yeah. Do you want to touch on some NRL news?
Yeah, let's end it with some NRL news.
So, last episode we spoke about Ben Hunt and how he had the move back to Broncos.
Yeah, back to Brisbane.
Back to home. So, obviously that sort of coincide with this Ezra Mam news, and we got sort of like a hearing as to, I guess, the punishment you could say that he got. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, for me, it's too late. You see other people, the Mitch Pearce comes to mind, the Spencer Leniu comes to mind, who got around the same bans, in the Mitchell Pearce case, lengthier bans, for instances that weren't as dangerous, that weren't as criminal as the Ezra Mam one was. I think essentially 9 matches is sharp and 120,000 fine is substantial, but compared to the actual infringement, the actual conviction, which was driving under the influence on a suspended, like without a license, and putting a child in the hospital, I don't think it really gets much worse than that in terms of, I mean, it could get worse, but in terms of what NRL players have done wrong criminally over the last few years, I mean, that's close to the top of the list. And he was convicted. It's not an up in the air thing. I think the NRL had their hands tied a little bit because you can't give him, I mean, you could have, but I don't think you can give him 16, 17 games. I think they probably felt like around the 10 matches was a fair amount. I think it's going to be up to people for themselves to decide, but I just think personally that they should have probably made a statement with this one. It was a young guy. He made a mistake that he hopefully regrets, but I think in the grand scheme of things, these are the incidents that you don't want to see in the public sphere at all. You don't want players without a license driving under the influence of drugs. And yes, they made a statement, but I don't think it was a strong enough statement. I think it should have been, for me, I would have done 12 matches and sort of half the season type thing, simple half the season, and let that be it. I mean, the Mitchell Pearce ban just comes straight to mind for me, where I can't remember what that ban was, but it was, I think, above 10 for something that isn't even in the same stratosphere as what Ezra Mam did. And we all know that Mitchell Pearce was much maligned in his career. And it wasn't Mitchell Pearce. Yeah, it's Mitchell Pearce I'm talking about. Even Todd Carney, like those people that sort of have that stigma about them, they seem to have caught harsher punishments than Ezra did for what he did. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts, I found out this news today from you.
Okay.
That I was reading from it. So it was a 9-match ban from the NRL. 120K fine. It was 30 from the NRL,
NRL 90K from Brisbane. Yep. So the Brisbane basically added on 90,000 on top of the NRL's base fine of 9 games and 30,000.
Yeah.
On top of the 750 fine and the 9-month license suspension from the court.
And so from the court, 9-month suspension, $700 fine. Yeah. I mean, it's never a good look.
It's not.
Especially in a sport that kind of probably has one too many of these sort of news breakings.
Yeah.
Like, it sort of just gives them... like, these rugby players, league players, get sort of like a stigma that comes with it. And, you know, when you sort of hear stuff like this, you kind of want the sentence to match the crime, but in this case, it doesn't really sound like it did. I have no prior knowledge as to like what the Mitchell Pearce or Todd Carney sentences were, but yeah, 9 matches, maybe a bit too lenient. You know, it goes more into, you know, how we were speaking about how Ben Hunt was going to fit into that team now. And
well, you know, he has 10 games playing number 6.
Be,
Problem is, what if he does great at number 6 and then Ezra Mam comes back? What do you do then?
Yeah. So I think Broncos came out and like stood by him and said, you know, we're going to, like, we know he made a mistake and stuff like that. So it doesn't look like they're going to drop him or trade him in any particular situation anytime soon, from what it sounds like. From what's been printed out in the media, but yeah, it's just an unfortunate situation that sort of happens, and
I mean, honestly,
don't wish to see. Really.
Ezra's just lucky that the kid that was in hospital didn't die. I mean, let's be real. I mean, this is the stakes here of what he did. He's lucky he didn't kill someone, and you know, if that was the case, if he did end up killing someone, what are we saying? Contract torn up, thrown in jail. I mean, the act is the same. The result was different because no one died. But the very act of driving under the influence of, as the news says, a cocktail of drugs, while not being a registered, I mean, even if you are a license holder, driving under the influence of drugs is, you know, self-explanatory. The resulting damage to the person I don't think should be factored into the account of the actual act that was done. So for me, I think I would, if I was the Broncos, I would have torn the contract up. Now that's obviously a different decision entirely to the actual punishment. They wanted to stand by him. That's fine. But again, you have Jack DeBellin, who had to basically stand down for an entire year under a rape allegation, which turned out to be not guilty. Whereas you have Ezra, who's been sentenced for driving under the influence of drugs while not licensed, who gets 9 matches. Now, there's different procedures in this. Jack DeBellin was because of the no-fault stand-down penalty, where when you're under investigation for a penalty for a crime that carries a certain sentence, you can't play while that's the case. But the NRL introduced that rule, and as a result, he got stood down for essentially a whole year. And I said Mitchell Pearce was essentially a whole year. I just think there's a large discrepancy with the penalties and the actual crimes that are committed, where I think the NRL focuses too much on the optics, on what looks worse for the game. That's what they decide to give the bigger penalties for, whereas something like this should be, in my opinion, held to the highest of penalties, where it was sort of given the upper medium tier. Now, a lot of people think that the upper medium tier was enough for this, but I personally think it should have been at least half the year. If not, if you're going to be really harsh, just give him a full year suspension.
I assume this is first time offence, like in anything. Has he ever been in a bad name in anything before? Or
I don't know. I don't know any prior history. I don't think in this sort of case it matters too much. I think the act speaks for itself. It's a bad look, as you said, for the game in general. You typically, yes, there's always NRL players in the spotlight, but very rarely for stuff like this, to be fair. Like, a lot of it's like a fight at a pub or drinking too much and getting kicked out of a pub. Like, again, you got to draw a line in the sand between getting kicked out of a pub for drinking too much, which most people have happened to them, you go out drinking, versus driving under the influence of drugs while not a registered license holder and putting someone in the hospital. Like, they're just in different stratospheres. Yeah, and NRL players, whenever they do anything wrong, it's always going to be put under the spotlight. But I think, again, it's important that the NRL sets a standard for what really is crossing the line, and I think this crossed the line in every which way, and I think as a result it should have been a penalty that makes people go, whoa, what? So whenever anyone thinks, any NRL player thinks of getting behind the wheel, if you've taken drugs or done anything like that, they're going to go, okay, this is not just going to affect me short term, this is going to be career defining. Like, losing a full season is a massive difference between losing 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I think it's too late, there'll be a lot of people who think it's just fair. I doubt many people think it's not harsh enough, which again sort of tells me that it was too light. If it was, typically a penalty's right when you have some people arguing both sides. I think it'd be very hard pressed to find people who think 9 matches was too harsh. Oh, it should have only been 5 matches. Like, no, I don't think. If you are arguing that, I'd love to hear it and what your argument is. But I don't think there'll be many people arguing that point of view. So I think for me that sort of proves that it was too light, and hopefully he learns from it. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. But I think it's a missed opportunity for the NRL, and yeah, that's sort of my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just end it with this. But do you think we come back 1-2 weeks later, and if there is some backlash, does that sentence get increased at all?
Nah, they never do that.
Do you reckon it's just sort of
the NRL and the Broncos and everyone involved will want this to be gone as far from the headlines as possible. They will not want this to be a thing. We had Ezra Mam in the headlines at the start of last season for the racist banana stuff with Spencer Leniu, where he supposedly called him a monkey during the NRL Vegas game, and Spencer Leniu got 6 weeks for that. Now, again, we understand racism in bad and you want to eliminate it from sports, but maybe I'm going out on a limb here, but for me, calling someone a monkey is not in the same world as doing what Ezra Mam did. And I think a 3-match difference is just not enough of a discrepancy between the penalties, and I think 6 matches is fair for Spencer, which therefore means that 9 matches is not fair for Ezra, if that makes sense. So I think there should have been a bigger gap between the penalties, and I don't think Spencer's should have been reduced. I don't think they'll change it. This will be done now. Broncos maybe knew this was coming because they got, obviously, as we said, they got Ben Hunt coming in. It's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds throughout the year. If Broncos start off the season extremely well without Ezra, with Ben Hunt in 6, and then all of a sudden they have to slot Ezra back in and put Ben Hunt to the 9, and they start losing or something, that's going to create some headaches. Yeah. But I mean, Broncos have a ready-made cover; they're good to go. Adam Reynolds may get injured at any time throughout the year, so again, they have coverage for that.
Yeah,
but it's an extra annoyance for the Broncos this year, and we'll see how it goes. But in terms of their form, I think Ben Hunt's a better player than Ezra Mam. Ezra offers more running threat, but Ben Hunt is a more complete player and more level-headed. I think Ezra had a really poor season last year defensively and sort of kicking. And I think when you have Adam Reynolds as your partner in the halves, you have so much more room to do whatever you want. You saw that with Cody Walker, whereas when he has Reynolds as his partner, he's allowed to basically just do whatever he wants to do. Yeah. As soon as Reynolds left and he had to do a bit more of the kicking and take more responsibility, his form dropped. Reynolds is like the perfect foil to a running playmaker. So if Ezra can't dominate the game with, and to be fair, he did 2 years ago, but he didn't last year, with Adam Reynolds as your number 7, it's going to be, you have questions whether he can do it long term when he has to take more of the kicking responsibility. But Ben Hunt and Reynolds is going to be the most sort of complete halves pairing in terms of the fundamentals of halves play, kicking, playmaking, controlling the game. It's going to be a fascinating team to watch with those two at the halves, and then Reece Walsh out the back and all the strike they have. In theory, it should work really well because they have the strike weapons on the outs and the backs. Tony Staggs, Reece Walsh, the other centre who had a really good year last year as well. I forgot his name. And then you have a strong front row pack with Haas, Carrigan, and the controlling halves in Reynolds and Hunt. So they have a great team on paper. It'll be interesting to see how Michael Maguire goes. A lot of Broncos fans seem happy with Michael Maguire, and they disagree with me on him being a Blues coach. I said my point on that wasn't really that the fans would be out on him, it would be that the media would be out on him. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, the media sort of sets the conversation, sets the tone. So if Michael Maguire starts off 0-3 and every program's talking about how he's not the coach, how they shouldn't have sacked Kevy, well, whether you agree with it or not, that's going to be the conversation, and then we'll be sitting here talking about is Michael Maguire the right coach or not, and that puts pressure on, and that's the snowball. And that's sort of more what I was talking about, rather than Broncos fans not liking him because he's a Blues coach. I said for Michael Maguire that doesn't matter, for Broncos fans that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is do you win, right? And Maguire's going to try and win irrespective of where he comes from. But my point is that the knives will be out and he won't have any friends in the media to call on in Queensland if they start losing. So the Broncos need to start well, and I think they have the team to do it. And if they do start well, it'll be interesting what happens round 10 when Ezra comes back.
Yeah, for sure. I can't believe was it like 2.5 months?
It's going to come up quick. It's going to come up quick.
It just felt like yesterday we were breaking down the finals match.
Yeah, I know, the grand final. Yeah.
Insane. So time flies. So it's going to be exciting once those 2.5 months come around. And
it's going to be a great start to the year.
I've already seen the super coach and all that being
might have
promoted
to do that again
everywhere.
this year.
Yeah, so that'll be good. It's starting to... obviously, we're still enjoying the summer right now, but obviously once it comes into autumn, that's when all our footy starts up over here in Australia. So
it's been a busy month over here in the Oz. Christmas time's always busy.
Oh yeah.
We thought we'd keep the Christmas decorations up just because, we didn't have a Christmas episode. We were indisposed with party planning and setting up and all the gift giving and all the rest.
Belated Christmas episode.
But belated Christmas episode. We'll probably have this stuff down and have a few extra decorations up for the next step.
Yeah, you already spoke about it.
We've already got something, a little surprise coming up. Wonder how it's going to look, but we'll try and make it look nice.
Yeah.
And probably have to take the tinsel down. Starting to like it, but I think you can't really have tinsel in February, can you? I don't think it's a good look.
Not. It's probably against
rules and regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
But when will we be back? Probably Monday, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, do Tuesday after all the NFL games fully wrapped up, because I think we have the Lions right in our 5.
Yeah.
And
So
that's a Tuesday game.
Tuesday after.
So we'll do the Tuesday then. Test match will be wrapped up by then. We'll see what happens. We'll have the full NFL recap. We can recap some of the college games. Actually, no, I think the college games are on Thursday, so we can preview some of the college games. You're the big.
Oh, so they're missing this weekend.
Yeah, there's a few bowl games on this week, but the big college game, the big one, probably the best game of the year for anyone who's into college football, is Ohio State, Oregon. Essentially that is the final. Like that's
that probably
would
have been the final if they didn't do the.
That's the Super Bowl. Yeah,
way, right?
That's the biggest one. They had a great game earlier in the year, but Oregon just beat them at home. Now it's a neutral field, which means Ohio State will probably have more fans because they just bigger fan base. So that's gonna be an excellent game. 2 of the top-notch teams this year. Oregon having that long break in between games will be interesting to see how they go. They'll have to come out hot because, as we saw, Ohio State came out ready to go in their last matchup and just blew. Forgot who they played. Just blew them away. Tennessee away.
Blew them away.
They had no. They had no chance after that first half. They came back a little bit, but just that game was over. So we had to talk about that and anything else that comes up in the headlines.
Yeah, there's plenty of EPL going around and plenty of Big Bash as well.
Yeah.
So we'll obviously be breaking down all the top news from around all the different leagues. As we do here at Borderless Sports.
Yeah. What day is it? 28th. So Tuesday will be will that be the New Year's Day or New Year's Eve?
That's New Year's Eve.
Wow, New Year's Eve app, eh? Wow, maybe we need to keep the tinsel up.
Keep the tinsel up and maybe find some 2.5 or something here.
Yeah, damn. We're gonna do our midnight app where we're recording into the new year. Hey, happy New Year!
Maybe we started on Twitch. Get your Twitch started.
True. Yeah. Follow me on Twitch. Stream starting soon.
Hasn't created the account yet, though.
Account stuff.
Oh, you have the...
Yeah, it's the same account I've been watching stuff.
Promote it, mate. What is it?
Honestly, think...
At Mackay?
I think it's MCK. I think it's dash, EYE, or underscore. One of the two. I'm going to have to learn this.
Username, right?
Yeah, I'm going to have to learn what it is.
Got to have the wrap-up.
Bit of cross-promotion.
Into your brain.
Whenever anyone comes in the stream chatting, say, hey, do you like sport? I got a great podcast if you're into sport.
I love it. Blend those audiences.
Hell yeah. So what is my channel? I think it's just MCKEYE. I don't think there's any... Well,
there you go. You love sport. You love games. You love Lachlan.
Yeah.
I mean, tune in.
Watch me hopefully get to Iridescent one day.
I reckon we wrap this up because I'm sweating out a quaddie right now.
Yeah, it's a little warm in here. That fan's not doing too much, especially with the lights on. But enjoy your weekends. Enjoy the sport. Enjoy the cricket. Enjoy the NFL for you guys over in America. Enjoy some NBA. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas. And we'll see you on New Year's Eve.
Cheers. See you guys.